Welcome everyone, this is Carl from KOBrewing here to knock out a beer review today. We have Deseo from Sunriver Brewing out of Bend, Oregon. You should go to Bend if you haven't been there yet. One of the greatest beer cities around in my opinion, and a great place to go on vacation. So today I'm going to be doing their Mexican style lager. Coming in at 4.7%, 18 IBU. And the description is a crisp and clean celebration of the classic lagers of Mexico. Quality brewed by Sunriver Company, Sunriver, Oregon. So this is a Mexican style lager. And what is a Mexican style lager? For one of the main differences between other European styles is typically maize, or if you will, corn. I believe in this case they use flake corn, which most brewers do nowadays. So what does corn do for a Mexican style lager? If it's in there enough, it gives it a little, you do taste a little bit of that corn flavor. It adds just a touch of sweetness, will not actually up in the sugar level. The yeast will still bring it down. So the beer generally stays relatively dry and drinkable. That's the idea. The IBUs are typically a little bit less. If you're talking like a German Pilsner per se, or like a Czech lager, you might be looking at 30 IBUs, maybe even more dependent. And that kind of balances out more of a malty base, which would be, 100% Pilsner or some other Munich malts or whatnot. So what we would want to see from this is, yes, some malt, but not as malty as some of those other styles that I just mentioned, or Vienna lager or what have you. So this should be crisp, this should be drinkable, this should be perfect. This is kind of the last hurrah of summer here. 100 degrees in town, definitely a little cooler out here. I'm glad I got off work early for the weekend. So let's dig in here. Can already tell decent carbonation going all in. All right, some larger bubbles, some finer bubbles. Definitely a good carbonation. Looking at almost 3-finger head on it. Relatively clear. It's not perfectly clear, and the corn has protein. So this, to me, is perfectly fine. Some people want their lagers or pilsners crystal clear, which you need some sort of filtration or some sort of fining agent to drop everything out. I personally don't care. Okay, so definitely some good malt backbone to it. Now I am picking up some of the hops. They didn't say it on the can. I briefly looked this up before I came out here. I didn't look at anyone else's reviews, but I saw they did use Saaz hops, standard, traditional, noble hop, using all types of pilsners and other types of lager beers from Europe. And that's totally present. Sometimes in a Mexican lager, you may not get as much of a hop profile. In this one, I think you do. So I expect to have some hop flavor, but I would not want this to be dominated by hops. This should be drinkable. So I don't know. It's 18 IBU. I would certainly think this wouldn't be a style you traditionally dry hop. It's probably just coming from the boil. So I'm going to dig in here. This is a little windy today too here. So I'm tasting a little bit of sweetness up front. Then it's drying out. I'm getting definitely some of that noble hop character, a little bit of that spice from the hops on it. It's really nice. I didn't get in the aroma so much, but I'm picking up just a little bit of a citrus type hint. Maybe it's even coming off of the yeast character, and this is a lager yeast. I think they did use a traditional Mexican lager yeast. I'm not sure which yeast company Sunriver typically uses. There's a Mexican lager yeast that has different names depending on the company. I know Imperial makes one locally. I wouldn't be surprised if they use that. So This has some body. Like I was saying, this should be a light-bodied beer. For my purposes, I'm glad that it's not watery. For beers I brew personally, I've made the mistake before of using completely water that's void of any type of minerals at all. I'm not sure what they're doing out in Sunriver, but their water definitely has a mineral content, so I don't know if they're starting from filtered water or not, or what they're doing. But this definitely doesn't have that watery feel that some other Mexican lagers have. At the same time, it's not overbearing. It's still attenuated down pretty well, which makes this very drinkable. You're still getting some of that hop character on the back notes too. You know, for traditional Mexican lager, I mean, maybe the hops are just a little bit higher than you'd expect, but however, people want hoppy beers around here. Sunriver makes great IPAs, so you know, if you're going on like true style, I mean, I think this is really good for what it is here. I mean, I could see somebody might complain this is, you know, there's maybe just a little bit too much hops. Doesn't bother me one bit. So I'm going to take a minute here and get back to you with some numbers. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. This is great for a summer day. It's drinkable. It's relatively crisp. I would like it just a little bit more crisp. I like the hop character. Maybe it's just a little too much. But overall, I really can't complain about this beer. Like I said, I like the body on it too. It's not watery thin, but it's not too sweet. Sometimes the other lagers, they're just too sweet, and it's not something you want to drink on a super hot day. So overall, to style, I think this is really, really good. I'm going to give this an 89. And I know some people on Untappd or whatnot tend to rate lagers way lower. I tend to like them. I'm just going to do what makes sense to me. I'm not trying to match beer reviews. So, you know, take that or leave it, you know, if you like it or not. I'm just going to do what makes sense to me. So like I said, for style, 89. Maybe overall, I would go 87. This is a really darn good beer. Is it the best Mexican lager I've ever had? No, but I would say this is by far better than average. Give it a go if you can find this. I know Sunriver distributes out of Oregon. I don't think they're going far back east. Anyone out of state that might be watching this, please let me know where they're distributing to right now. I'll look this up when I get back home. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I don't have phone reception, so I can't look anything up. But this is a darn good beer. All right, well, thanks everyone for listening. Please let me know what you think in the comments. If you had this, do you like the style? Did I leave anything out? I'm sure I did. Always trying to improve things here, so let me know. Thanks everyone. Cheers. Once again, this is Carl from KOBrewing, knocking out a beer review.